Hello, everyone. I wanted to share a message that came through, and I wanted to do it live. Um, I felt called by my guides to share this. So, what I'm going to talk about right now is the quantum field, creator beings that we are, and the access that we have as we are shifting into higher frequencies and ascending, the access that we have to creating our reality and really starting to understand this and visualize this. So here's what came through. Here's the vision. I want you to imagine yourself as you're moving through this ascension process and shifting into higher states of consciousness, higher frequencies. I want you to imagine that you are a washing machine, okay? And you're in the spin cycle. So your physical, the energy inside your physical form is spinning, and it's spinning fast, right? Faster it spins, the more that density is clearing out of you, right? And the faster that light spins, the higher the frequency you're holding. So they go parallel, they go side by side. You're in that spin cycle. The energy is increasing. The density is breaking up and moving through you. So many of us are feeling, as our frequency is increasing, we are also feeling the complete opposite. We are feeling as if we are not shifting, that we are not ascending, that we are completely feeling the opposite, which is the density. That is correct. That's what's happening. You're in the spin cycle of the washing machine. The energy is spinning faster and faster, especially during these portals that we're in, because the intensity of the light coming in is spinning at a much higher rate than the light that's inside your physical form. So as soon as it comes in and hits the light inside your physical form, you are all of a sudden on that spin cycle, right? So you've been in the washing machine, kind of washing yourself and doing your whatever, your everyday thing. This energy comes in, these portals open up, and this energy comes into your body, the light, and you are set into this spin cycle. And when you're in the spin cycle, the density is breaking up. And so you're feeling it, you're seeing it, you're experiencing it. Pain, trauma, fears, paradigms, programming. The people in your life don't fit anymore. The situations in your life don't fit anymore. The things that you're doing in your life don't fit anymore. Nothing's fitting anymore because it's all breaking up because you're in the spin cycle. Now, here's what's important to understand. As your physical form, as the light inside the physical form is in that spin cycle, okay, you want to recognize that you are being held in a cloud of consciousness, okay? So you're in a third dimensional consciousness. Your body is spinning, and your physical form is standing in this consciousness. Now, this consciousness that we're standing in, this third dimensional consciousness, is in a quantum field. So what does that mean? It means that imagine that you're standing or floating in this cloud. The cloud is the third dimension, and yet the third dimension is existing within an infinite amount of dimensions all at the same time. Okay? So you're floating here in this third dimension, and yet there's all these other dimensions that are spinning and being at the same time that your little humanness is spinning and held in this third dimensional consciousness, right? The reason it's important to start to really visualize this and understand this, and the quantum field is very simple to understand. There's nothing difficult or challenging about the quantum field. The quantum field is just stating that everything that exists, every dimension, every consciousness, every experience, everything within this experiment and beyond is happening in the now moment. That's it. And depending upon where your awareness and attention is and where your frequency is, that's your now moment, right? So, but you're also in and held within a quantum field. But here's the interesting thing about the quantum field. Everything is in the quantum. Everything exists in the quantum field, but you cannot experience you as consciousness unless you are experiencing yourself within a dimensional realm. Okay? So you have to be in some sort of dimensional field or matrix in order to experience yourself as consciousness, yet always knowing that you're in this quantum field, which means that you have access to any other dimensional frequency, dimensional field, dimensional matrix in any now moment if you want to tap into it through the increasing of your own vibrational space, your own vibrational energy. Okay? So just because there's this quantum field out there and everything's existing in this now moment, including all these different aspects of you, none of that matters unless you want to tap into it. But even if you tap into it, it's not going to do anything for you because you're still standing in this dimensional field, existing and experiencing yourself from this dimension, right? So the purpose of understanding the quantum field in this now moment is that we are creator beings. We have access to any frequency, any dimension, any timeline that we want if it serves us. And if we can shift ourselves, or if we want to shift ourselves. Now, when it comes to shifting yourself, it's a very challenging thing to shift yourself into another dimensional field. Look at what we've been trying to do. If we could easily shift ourselves into the fifth dimensional field, we'd all be vibrating and seeing through our hands and able to access and move into that fifth dimensional field. The reason it's so challenging to move into a higher dimensional field from the third dimension is that the third dimension is massively dense. If you existed in a 10th dimensional field and you wanted to shift into a 12th dimensional field, it'd be very easy. You could easily shift into it, right? It's a much easier shift when you are in that frequency. It's light. You're not dense. 10th dimension is not dense. Density no longer exists. Form no longer exists when you're in a 7th dimension or higher. There's no density. So you're just light. Okay? So understanding the quantum is great because it makes you realize that everything's happening in this now moment, and consciousness can't experience itself. You are consciousness. You can't experience yourself unless you are in a dimensional field. For whatever reason, you chose to experience this third dimensional field. And in this third dimensional field, it is extremely challenging and difficult to tap into any other dimensional field because you are so dense, right? And so that's what's happening right now as we're in this spin cycle in the washing machine, is that we're learning how to clear out the density so that we can shift into that next dimensional field that's already there. You see, the earth is already holding a fifth dimensional field. She's there already, right? She's waiting for us. And so we are learning how to do this, and we have to get more clear and conscious. Now, when you recognize all of that, you then recognize that you're a creator being. You dropped into physical form as a creator being. You have free will, and you can create anything. You create your reality. You can create the intention and the manifestation of where you're going. You can create the clearing out. You can create the new paradigms and programs you want to believe in and bring into your reality or step into, right? You're creator beings. And the way you become a creator being over and over and over again is you get extremely clear and conscious of what you're playing in, what you're participating in. There are no victims on this earth plane. None. No victims. Even though when you look out into the world, you will see victimhood. That's part of a third dimensional consciousness. But the being inside that human that is experiencing that human life is not a victim, right? Everything is a choice. And the more you can get clear on that reality that everything is a choice, then you start to get clear on how you manage your now moment with that awareness. Okay, so if everything's a choice and I'm feeling depression, I don't want to feel depression, right? So my choice is I don't want to feel it. So here is what you start to get conscious of. Why and where is the depression coming from? The depression is a dense consciousness. The depression is coming up for you to look at. What's the choice as the creator being? The choice is, do I look at it as that density without judgment, without duality, without right or wrong? It just is. Do I look at it, see it, understand it by understanding that this is the process of ascending, moving into higher frequencies within your now moment? You're not going somewhere. You're not going to jump somewhere. It's all right here. It's all happening in this physical form. So when things are coming up that you don't want to experience, that you don't want to feel, that you don't want to look at, the way you move through it as a creator being is you start to remember, you start to recognize what's happening. It's like you're reading a book and you're learning, oh my God, this is what's happening. The more you learn about it and understand it, the easier it is for you to then create what it is you want. But when you look at it with ignorance, as if you don't understand it, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Then you're going to be in this hamster wheel of victimhood. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? I don't want this to happen to me. I don't know why this is happening to me. Why? You know, I don't deserve this. I shouldn't have this. All these things, right? No, you want to become the creator being. You want to empower yourself and you want to understand who you are and what you're going through. So in the spin cycle, when these things come up, which they're all going to come up and they're going to continue to come up because you're always shifting to the next highest frequency. And until you can see through your hand, guess what? You have density in there. And that density is unconscious or conscious experiences that you've had in this lifetime, right? So when you're experiencing something that you don't want anymore, like depression, right? Or lack of money. I never have money, right? You can choose anything you want. Okay, great. That lack of money is a belief system. It's a belief system that you're holding. Depression is an emotion that you're holding. Both are dense consciousnesses. Both are coming up so that you, as this higher dimensional being within your physical form, can look at it and say, oh, look what's coming up. Okay, first of all, I know what's happening. I know this is density clearing out of me. I know that I am shifting. And I know that this is coming up so that I can then choose to look at it and to allow it to move through me in the time that it needs to move through me, because we live in a linear time right now. Unfortunately, we are in a linear time frame. Even if you are moving into higher frequencies within the physical form, the physicality, the body is still standing in the cloud of third dimensional consciousness. So there will be moments where you will not feel linear time, right? Time stops, right? There's time, you're just in this now space. What you'll start to notice is that you won't be living in a linear kind of way anymore. You won't be making plans in the future. You won't be doing things 7 months out, right? It's not going to resonate. It's not going to feel good, right? But you're still physically standing in a linear landscape, right? So the way density clears out is linearly. It's stretched. It doesn't happen instantaneously. Although it can start happening instantaneously as you continue to clear out and move your frequency into the next click. So as you start moving yourself into the next highest frequency, what you're going to start to notice is the density that comes up is going to clear much faster. It's not because you're doing anything special. It's that you are starting to work in a field that is not so dense and linear. Even though the physical body is still standing in this linear third dimensional field, as you start shifting the frequency, you're going to start to experience time squeezed in. So it's going to start to clear faster and faster and faster, right? So as a creator being in a quantum field, you understand that this is just one experience. This is just one spectrum of consciousness in an infinite amount of consciousnesses that you could be visually experiencing in a now moment. There are many aspects of you that are in many different dimensional fields outside of this 12th dimensional grid, outside of this experiment that's experiencing itself right now. But your awareness isn't there. Your awareness is in this now moment, which is your third dimensional physicality, although the awareness of your other aspects are in that now moment, looking out and experiencing that dimensional frequency. The point is that consciousness has to be held in some sort of dimensional field, some sort of density, in order to experience itself, in order to have a signature experience, in order to experience consciousness, right? But it's all happening in the quantum. And so you, as this dense third dimensional physicality, the light being inside of you is shifting. And so choosing to learn what this all means, which is, oh, I'm in the spin cycle. This is just coming up. Okay, great. So I just have to look at it. I just have to see it. I have to feel it. And I have to get real comfortable with the uncomfortableness of it. I have to get real comfortable with the uncomfortableness of it. Some densities are going to last a lot longer than other densities. It's okay. There's no judgment in that, right? You want to look at it through the observer lens as a higher dimensional being in a physical form, moving through what you've chosen to move through, which is shifting into the next frequency, and then eventually anchoring into the next dimensional field, and then the next dimensional field, right? You can't just skip over into it. Bringing yourself into bliss and joy and peace is great, but that's not going to assist you if you're not also at the exact same moment clearing out the density that's coming up. Every single human form has density in it. That's part of being in a third dimensional realm. That's part of living from the moment you dropped in and were birthed out into this world in that physical form. You started consuming third dimensional consciousness. Every human has to clear that consciousness out. And you can't try to shift your vibration out of this third dimensional consciousness by ignoring, denying, or trying to positive think your way or shift your vibration into something other than what is being in your now moment, what's coming up in your now moment. What a lot of us like to do is we want to shift our vibration into what we want to experience so that we can pull that reality into our field, right? Everybody talks about how your vibration will bring to you that reflection, right? So how you're vibrating is going to be your reality. And there's truth to that. It's absolutely true. But the part that they're missing is that there's nothing wrong with the vibration you're holding that needs to clear out the density so that you can shift into these higher frequencies that are going to bring you more of that blissful high frequency vibe you want to feel all the time. Because most of us tap into it and then we're pummeled back down into that density. And then we shift into it and we're pummeled back down into that density, right? If we just stay in the present moment and unconditionally love whatever's coming up in that present moment without judgment, we will get to these higher frequencies much faster and we will stay in those higher frequencies. We will be anchoring those higher frequencies into the physical form. You see, when you anchor those higher frequencies that in the past now moment you've been tapping into, when you anchor them in, that means your body has acclimated those higher frequencies in. The only way the body can acclimate those higher frequencies into the physical form is by clearing out the density to make space and room for these higher frequencies. And the natural process of that is that the higher frequencies that you've been tapping into that you want to feel are going to start to acclimate into your physicality. They're already there. It's spinning, right? It's going to acclimate in, and as it's acclimating, it's going to break up the density. The depression is going to come up. The anxiety is going to come up. The anger is going to come up. And yet what the human is doing is saying, oh shit, I don't want to feel all this. I don't want to feel all this. Let me go out to these higher frequencies. Oh, okay, I'm feeling these higher frequencies. I'm okay now. And it's like, no, you're not getting it. The higher frequencies are in you. Right? It's all in you. The higher frequencies that you're tapping into, I like to go over here. It's actually not outside of you, but I like to use that as a reference point. It just helps kind of see it as higher than, right? But it's not. It's in you. And your body is trying to acclimate it. You tap into it every once in a while. But the process of acclimating those higher frequencies so that you can anchor those higher frequencies so that you can feel those awesome high frequency experiences in your every now moment is by honoring the density that absolutely necessarily has to clear out. You can't bypass this. This is how the physicality shifts. This is how the physicality anchors into the next field and the next field and the next field, which is a dimension. The physicality has to clear out. The higher frequencies have to acclimate and anchor in. It happens at the exact same time. It's parallel. They're happening together. But what happens is the human third dimensional ego and personality is looking at it like there's something wrong with me. I've messed up. I've effed up. I'm screwed up. I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not where everybody else is because I've got all this shit coming up. The shit coming up is the sign saying you're shifting into a higher frequency. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. And what happens is, as you're doing it, as the shit's coming up, is you want to stay really honest with the shit coming up. You want to look at it, honor it, recognize it for what it is. And as the creator being that you are, you're choosing for it to move through you through awareness, through feeling, through understanding, right? And then you are recognizing the higher frequencies that are also acclimating. So you're starting to become aware that in that same now moment, there is also another aspect of you that is a higher frequency that's coming on board, that's turning on. That's lighting up. Okay? So there's a storm of energies happening inside of us right now. There's all kinds of stuff happening inside of us right now. And we are existing in a consciousness that makes slow that we hear and that teachers are talking about and that people are talking about, the higher self, the I am presence, the fifth dimensional earth field, the earth already existing in the fifth dimension, all of that stuff is part of this entire ascending journey. It's a part of this process. As you start to increase your frequency, you connect deeper into the higher self and I am presence. First the higher self, then the I am presence. You start embodying that aspect of you. You start embodying that higher frequency aspect of you. Then you start tapping into these higher frequencies. Then you start remembering and learning what this is all about. You just want to get real clear on the fact that there's nothing wrong with the spin cycle and the crap coming up. Nothing wrong with that at all. And in fact, the more you honor it, the faster you're going to shift. When people talk about moving into and feeling like Christ consciousness or unity consciousness, that is something that takes a very long time to actually anchor in. And it means that you unconditionally love yourself, first and foremost. Because you can't have unity consciousness, which means that basically you understand that you and every other being are one. You're uniquely, with your own sovereign field, one. And in order to actually embody that knowingness, you have to be able to look out into the world and love every single being, no matter what they're doing, no matter what they're saying. Everyone. Okay? So you have to practice that first with yourself. If you can't unconditionally love every single aspect of your beingness, how are you going to do that for the rest of the world? So let's break it down for a second and really, really peel back the layers of all of this, all of the words that we use in this community and all of that. Let's get real with it, right? Because it's not as simple as what our logical minds are holding. Do you know what it feels like to unconditionally love yourself? Can you feel that every single now moment, right? Because if you can, then you can look out and do the same for all other beings. And that's what we're learning. We're learning this. I mean, many of us can't even acknowledge and lovingly accept the density that comes up that wants to clear. We have a hard time loving ourselves through depression, loving ourselves through anxiety, loving ourselves through lack, loving ourselves through jealousy, loving ourselves through comparison, loving ourselves through challenging relationships and divorces and then anything else that's thrown at us. We have a very hard time loving ourselves through that. So to be able to look out and feel that unity requires you to feel the unity within yourself first. Start with the being that you are first. Start with us first. This. It's hard to jump, right? It's very challenging. You start, Layla asked, how do you, people that rape and abuse children and animals and all of that, how do you love that? You start baby steps, right? You start, first of all, can you look at yourself and love yourself? See how far you can go in that. What can you accept? What human behaviors can you accept, right? You start to get clear on where your boundaries are. What are the behaviors that so far you're able to sort of unconditionally accept? And you start to try to stretch to the next challenging behavior, right? So it's practice. You start practicing. Okay, what can I hold? What human behavior can I hold? Right? Because Christ consciousness and unity consciousness is the ability to look out through those eyeballs and see every single being in human form doing exactly what they have designed themselves to do in that physical form. And from a much higher perspective, there is nothing right or wrong about that journey. Jesus was an ascended being in physicality teaching us that. He was able to do that. That's why we call him Christ. Christ consciousness is the consciousness that Jesus was holding within his form, which is the ability to connect to the love essence, the spark of light that is source, that is in every single physical being, every single higher dimensional being, any consciousness that is existing and experiencing itself outside of source. So it's split from source and it became a consciousness. It's its own unique consciousness. That consciousness holds a spark, an essence of source. Any consciousness that exists in any realm, in any dimensional field, holds that, including the physical form. And when you tap into that essence that my guides have called this love essence, it's unconditional, pure love. And when you tap into that, you tap into unity consciousness. You tap into Christ consciousness. You tap into unconditional acceptance of all that ever is, was, and will be. And that is a challenging thing to do. You practice. You practice learning how to come into this space. That spark is, for most physical forms, held in the fourth energy center, which people call, the humans in this third dimension call it the heart center. It's an energy center. It's the fourth energy center of 7 that create the channel in the human form. Let me just hide some of these people. Okay. The moderator's not here today. I did an impromptu, you guys. Okay. That's what I wanted to share. I wanted to share about what we're going through, the spin cycle, the importance, you guys, of really understanding what's happening. The more you can understand it, the easier it is to move through it. And it's simple, it's basic, it's physics. It's all physics. It's just energy moving into the next highest frequency. Ascension and ascending is very simple. It's an energy inside a form that is increasing its speed to move into the next highest form. To the next highest frequency in the same form. That's it. And when you do that, things shift and things awaken inside of the physical form, because the physical form was designed to be able to hold a 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensional frequency. The physical form is designed to do that. The physical form is designed to hold 5th dimensional consciousness, 6th dimensional consciousness, 7th dimensional consciousness at this now moment. So it has to be able to hold crystalline DNA. It has to be able to hold the embodiment of higher self and I am presence. It has to be able to hold a clear channel to be able to connect and align to all the other frequencies and dimensions that you can eventually attach and connect to when you are in a higher frequency. It's very simple. So as that spin cycle increases, as the light increases, as the frequency increases, obviously the natural process is that the dense carbon DNA, which are light codes, is going to naturally shift into a more crystalline or light DNA, right? DNA is just a way in which a form for light codes to be held in the physicality, so that when the physical form starts to shift naturally, speed up naturally into the next frequency, the DNA is naturally going to speed up and the light codes are going to then be held in a higher frequency, which is a crystalline form. Then guess what else happens as that light speeds up as you're in the spin cycle? All of a sudden, you're going to open up or activate gifts or ways of being that are innately in every form. Every physical form has the ability to see other dimensional fields. The human form has the ability to hear and connect to higher dimensional beings. The physical form is capable of having telepathy with all the other energetic beings, including the physical forms around them. The human form has the ability to heal energetically with their own physical form. There's so many gifts or innate abilities that the physical form is holding that are dormant right now. Because again, the physical form has been designed so that a seventh dimensional frequency can be held in it. That's how the physical form was created originally. It was created to hold from a fifth to a seventh dimensional frequency. So we are just a very low frequency in a physical form that's capable of holding much higher frequency. And everything that's naturally happening is not so complex. It's not, and there's nothing that we need to figure out or learn about how the physical form is doing this. Your DNA is naturally going to shift as you are watching yourself naturally shift. If you look back a year from now, a year ago, and where you are now, and the shifting that you've done, right? Just look around at your world. Just look around at how you're reacting, how you're feeling, how you're experiencing things, right? It's different. Now, if I said to you, what are all the things that you did? Sure, there's probably things that you, conscious things that you, actions that you took, right? People that you listened to and learned from. But how did you actually physically shift that energy? You didn't. That energy naturally shifted. The energy naturally spins faster and faster and faster, which naturally shifts and activates the DNA. There's nothing we need to do. This all naturally happens. It just happens. It's part of this, it's part of the human physical design. It's the design of how this is meant to go. We just like to complicate things, and we like to make things very complex. We have all these fancy words for the way energy moves. We have all these fancy words for the way DNA shifts and activates, and all the crazy light codes that are within the DNA. And we like to make it complex, challenging, difficult to understand, right? Make ourselves look like we're really smart. Simple. Simple. It's physics. It's energy speeding up, including the DNA, and shifting into a higher frequency, which then opens and activates us to higher dimensional realms, all within us. All within us. It's all within us, right? You're not going anywhere. So simple. Doesn't always feel simple, but it's pretty simple. Real talk with George. It is the sun. So the sun has different, there's what people like to call the great central sun, which is a higher vibrational form of the sun. And so the sun has these rays that come down that actually kind of create the life on the planet, right? Like in order for us to survive, we have to have the sun. So on a very physical level, the sun allows us to live. And what the sun also does from in its higher vibrational form is that it activates the light inside our physicality and shifts us. And it does it in as a partnership with the Earth and with the Galactic Federation of Light. So it's same with the moon. They all work together in conjunction. So they're a team. And from a higher perspective, the sun was created. Take this with a grain of salt, but this is what the Galactic Federation has shared with me. When the Earth was designed, the sun was designed at the same time. And the sun was designed for the sole purpose of a shifting and ascending the Earth and humans, the human form that was going to be on it. And then the second thing that it did is that it allowed life to be on the planet, on Earth. So it's divinely designed. It has a very close partnership and relationship with the Earth. And as we are continuing to shift into higher frequencies, this beautiful consciousness, the sun, it's a being, it is a consciousness, it is a being, regardless of what the scientific community says about the sun. That's a third dimensional paradigm. From a much higher perspective, the sun is a consciousness. And it has been increasing the light codes and the light frequencies more and more. So more has been coming in and faster speeds, right? That's what's been happening. And what you're going to start to realize, real talk with George, is that as you start increasing your frequency, right, everything starts to turn on. What you're going to notice is you're going to see the sun as a vibrational consciousness and not a what the scientific community tells us it is. You're going to start to see it vibrating. You're going to start to hear it. You maybe even communicate with it, right? You're going to start to understand and remember. Because here's the thing, you guys, I'm going to do a video on this about the 12th dimensional grid. But you know how this whole experiment works because you dropped into it. You dropped in through the 12th dimensional grid. The 12th dimensional grid holds every single aspect, consciousness, word, experience, paradigm, program, everything that you can possibly conceive, think up, make up, experience is in the 12th dimensional grid. Galaxies, 12th dimensional grid. Stars, 12th dimensional grids. Planets, 12th dimensional grid. DNA, 12th dimensional grid. Fifth dimensional beings, fourth dimensional beings created in this 12th dimensional grid. It's a massive experiment. And you dropped into it. So the light beings, the galactic beings, the star beings, the angelic realm, all of these beings exist. It's just aspects of them that are inside this 12th dimensional grid, experimenting with this experiment, just like we, as higher dimensional beings, dropped into the form. But there are aspects of those beings, higher dimensional beings, outside the 12th dimensional grid existing and being. But aspects of them dropped into this 12th dimensional grid to play in this massive experiment, which is the Earth moving originally from 5D to 7D and potentially the 12th dimension. She had the potential and has the potential to shift into that 12th, all the way to the 12th dimension. She probably won't, but that is available because of the dimensional grid around her. So you all jumped in. And when you jumped into this 12th dimensional grid by choice, in the collective that you jumped into, meaning the collective consciousness, you remember how this whole thing works. You remember all the dimensional fields that exist. You recognize how really high dimensional beings are being held in this denser 12th dimensional field. You remember that once you were in the 12th dimensional grid, you then were like, oh my God, I actually get to go down and come into a form and experiment with this. That's what this all is. One big, massive, beautiful experiment. Call it whatever you want. People call it a game, or I think they call it, like, some people have called it like, I don't know. They call it all kinds of things, right? But in the most simplest form, it is Earth intending to shift in consciousness within form, allowing other higher dimensional beings to participate with it, and creating a 12th dimensional grid so that she can be held in a sovereign, safe space while she does it. And the Galactic Federation of Light are the guardians of her. They're the guardians of this entire experiment. They are participating on Earth's behalf, maintaining and making sure that everything that the Earth has intended will play out. There are many times, well, two particular times in Earth's historical journey where she was almost physically destroyed. And the Galactic Federation came in and made sure that didn't happen. One of them was when she fell from the fifth dimension to the third. And that was when everybody has heard about the Lemurian continent, Lemurian beings on the Mu continent, and the Atlanteans on the Atlantean continent. 5 other continents make up 7. There may have been more. They all sank. So the Galactic Federation was in charge of that because there are many universal laws put into place by the Galactic Federation of Light and Earth in order to make sure and maintain that she was able to do what she intended herself to do. And if she was ever going to be physically destroyed, the Galactic Federation would come in and clear her out, which is what happened. And it almost happened in the 1920s. Again, the Galactic Federation came in. And that is when they cleared out the 4th dimensional beings off the Earth plane. So the 4th dimensional beings that came in around 5,000 years ago were cleared off the Earth plane around the 1920s. And although it was cleared off instantaneously, from a higher perspective, it took 80 years, 70 years for the human to no longer experience these 4th dimensional beings. Humans to this day will say that they are experiencing or may have experiences with these 4th dimensional beings, but for the most part, they're gone off Earth, not participating, not abducting the human anymore, not the 4th dimensional beings. But that's part of the book that's coming out that I'm writing. So there you have it. Any questions? The sun rays. So there are why are sun rays good for us? So it's a paradigm. So there's 1,000,000,000 paradigms that you can choose to play in or choose to not play in. And sunburned is a reality, right? So you can go sit in the sun and get sunburned from the sun. However, if you believe that it's bad for you, then yeah, that's going to be your reality. Okay. If you believe that it's just a natural process of you soaking in that sun and that vitamin D, and it's not going to harm you, then that will be your reality. It really is your belief system. What do you believe? What paradigm are you playing in? It's that easy, but it's challenging to try to step out of a paradigm that we have been in for so long. When you start shifting into a higher frequency, you understand that you're in charge, right? This goes back to the beginning. You're in charge of your reality. You are a creator being. If you want to sit in the sun and receive those rays and receive that vitamin D that the sun is giving you, and even vitamin D is a paradigm, right? But if you want to sit and receive the sun and you buy into the paradigm that everybody has told us, which is that it will give us sunburns, which will give us cancer, then that's the reality that will be pulled into your reality. And it's true. It's absolutely true. There's also another reality. There's also another paradigm, which is that you can lay out in the sun, get sunburned or not, and be completely okay and never have skin cancer and not have wrinkles and not have any of the shit that people talk about. This is what happens when you start shifting into higher frequencies. You start choosing what you want to believe in. We are creator beings. We get to choose our realities. The problem is that we have been programmed our entire life and we have been living in such a dense consciousness that we forgot that we have the ability to create whatever reality and now moment we want, regardless of what the scientific community tells us. Regardless. There are higher frequency lights that are coming it's almost like you can imagine the sun's coming down, right? And feeding us. And then there's higher dimensional lights sort of behind the sun that are light codes, that are high frequency light codes that are coming down into the physical form. You don't need to sit in the sun to receive it. You can sit in your house and receive it. You can sit in a car and receive it. You can sit in a building and receive it. So you don't actually have to sit out in the sun to receive the light codes. Levitation, Aaron, levitation currently possible. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that have, so there's this teetering between different frequencies and thus dimensional fields. If you raise your vibration enough in a state where your consciousness is quiet, meaning the ego isn't involved, right? If you so it's that dream state, right? It's the space where it's like you're almost asleep but you're not asleep, okay? And if you can get yourself into that space, that rhythm, and increase your frequency and your vibration high enough, you'll be able to levitate anywhere. You can levitate yourself off of something, but it requires your ego to be quiet, which means that you have to find out how to move yourself into a state where you're almost asleep, right? Because that sleep state is when the ego is quiet and the ego's not participating. So it can be very challenging for a lot of dense humans that we are. But as you start moving into higher frequencies and you start activating those innate abilities, you start to quiet the ego. The ego starts to quiet down and you start to play in higher realms. You start to tap into and play in this quantum field that's always around you. Like I said in the beginning, we are in a third dimensional cloud or consciousness, but we are in a quantum field, which means every dimensional possibility is happening in this now moment. So levitation will probably start to become something humans begin to tap into more and more, but it is very challenging. Not only does the ego have to quiet, but then you have to increase your frequency and speed to a really high frequency where you can be levitated off. What else? Okay. So when people talk about demons, it's just a consciousness. It's a very low vibrational consciousness. And again, you're a creator being. So you either allow lower dimensional consciousness to come into your field. Demons are not fourth dimensional beings. They're very different. Demons are, it's just a consciousness that you're tapping into that's available in this third dimensional field. And there's no right or wrong, good or bad about a demon frequency, a demon consciousness. But you're not a victim. So you're nothing's happening to you. You either believe that demons are going to come into your space, consciously or unconsciously, or you're inviting them in consciously or unconsciously. So you got to get clear on your beliefs. You got to get clear on what you believe. Because any human can tap into very low dimensional consciousness in this third dimensional realm. It's a matter of choosing and then listening to what people are telling you. If you're listening to teachers, if you're listening to people talk about demons and be careful because demons are coming in, be careful because there's a flood of demons doing this and that and this and that, then that's going to be in your consciousness. That's going to be in your reality. And you're going to choose that in your field. There's an infinite amount of other paradigms, realities, and ways of being that have nothing to do with demons. So it's a choice. At the end of the day, it's a choice. And demons are not fourth dimensional beings. They're very separate. Demons are just a consciousness that will shapeshift into any sort of form. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just part of the third dimensional consciousness. So there's a lot of physical symptoms that a lot of people are going through. Part of the reason why there's these physical symptoms is the human isn't When density is asking to be cleared, so the density is an emotion, thought, belief, whatever coming up, right? And it's trying to come up to clear. If the human doesn't acknowledge it because it's too uncomfortable, they have no control over it, they don't know what to do with it, then it will fester, right? It will go deeper in. Imagine it kind of going deeper in, like I need to get their attention. I need to get their attention, and it turns into a physical symptom, turns into a physicality, because you won't ignore physicality. You won't ignore the physical symptoms, right? You'll pay attention to the physical symptom. And so what the human needs to recognize is that as the physical symptom is coming up, there is a consciousness in that physical symptom. Something caused that physical symptom. Energy caused that physical symptom. Dense consciousness caused that physical symptom. And so you want to then pay attention to that physical symptom and then ask your own physicality, your own beingness, your higher self, okay, what consciousness is actually trying to get my attention? What is it in there? Let me listen. Let me see. Let me dive in. So wherever you're feeling physical pains, bring your awareness to it. Learn to listen. Ask, 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 ask. Ask your higher self. Ask your guides. Ask yourself, what is that? What consciousness have I been ignoring for a certain amount of time that has now festered into the physical form? There's nothing wrong with having the physical pains. It doesn't mean that you're worse off or bad or any of that. It just means that the consciousness that was trying to come up didn't get seen, didn't get looked at. And so it's buried deeper into the form and coming out as a physicality, because humans can't ignore physical pain. So the Lionsgate, which is what we've been going through right now, the Lionsgate is, okay, so higher dimensional beings, and we are a higher dimensional being as well. Higher dimensional beings access us through portals. They assist us in our ascension and ascending journey through portals. So what's a portal? Okay, we are in a quantum field, correct? Which means that although we are standing in a third dimensional cloud of consciousness, there are many other dimensional fields existing in this now moment right here, right? We can't tap into them because we are in a very low frequency. Now, many of us, as we're shifting higher frequencies, can start tapping into those dimensions, right? You start to feel them, you start to experience them, you start to feel that consciousness. But for the most part, we are anchored in this dimensional field, and it's extremely hard to open ourselves and go out and experience these other dimensions. So what these higher dimensional light beings, galactic beings, angelic beings, all of these beings, right, that are vibrating in a much higher dimension, what they do in terms of accessing us is they open up a portal, which is a way of being able to join energy, join frequency, connect to us in a very potent way. So you can imagine that there's a 12th dimension right here, right? And the Lion's Gate is the Sirians opening a portal, opening an energetic field that gives them direct access into this third dimensional realm. Okay, so a portal opens that allows them easier access in to this third dimensional field. That's what portals do. Okay, so they're not physical portals. There are many physical portals on the earth plane. These are non-physical portals. They begin from a higher dimensional realm, and they begin from an actual intention of a higher dimensional being, and they open up, and then boom, they have access into this third dimensional realm in a really potent way. So the Lion's Gate is a time where the Sirians, and these portals, by the way, there's many of them by many dimensional beings. Lionsgate is just one that we're very, very familiar with. It is a 2-week time frame where, and each Lionsgate holds different intentions depending upon where the collective is. So in this Lionsgate, there is a massive amount of palpable Sirian consciousness and energy that is coming in to this third dimensional realm and into your physical form, assisting you in literally shifting into the next highest frequency that you're ready to shift into. And it looks and feels very different depending upon your unique journey. So it can be, you can have a lot of physical symptoms, you can have a lot of exhaustion, you can have a lot of epiphanies of like, oh my God, like these knowingnesses and these awarenesses. You may have massive amounts of downloads. You may be connecting to beings that you've never connected with. You may feel like you are clearing out the most massive trauma you've ever cleared in your life, right? You may be having traumas that you forgot about or didn't even know you had coming into your memory, right? There's so many things. You may feel completely disoriented. There may be days where you're just like, what happened today? What happened yesterday? Right? There's so many ways that we are experiencing this Lionsgate portal right now. But the intention underneath it all is to get you physically shifted into and anchored down into the next highest frequency. That's what's happening. And you can say it in all these different spiritual terms, and you can, have all of these like complex ways in which you want to describe it. But in the most simplest terms, what the Sirians have done is they've opened up the portal once again, and they are literally connecting energetically with massive amounts of high frequency light down into the third dimensional consciousness, down into the physical form for the sole purpose of assisting us in highest frequency. And for many of us, it's going to look many different ways. The last 2 weeks, I could hardly do anything. I had no energy, none, 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 none. And I was told by the Syrians over and over and over again to call them in to clear out, clear out, clear out. I've been clearing out. I've been healing and clearing like no one's business the last couple of weeks. Experiences that I've had that I thought that I was done with, that I'd cleared. Nope, come back in, come back in, look at it, see it, feel it, journal it, talk it, write it, do whatever I need to do to clear it. Greg, super helpful today, feeling the density and storm inside spinning grid work. Perfect. I've been seeing lights and have vertigo. Lots of people have been seeing a lot of lights. They've been seeing things moving around their field, their space. They've been seeing a lot of ships out on this in the sky. Lots of people have been having visitations by higher dimensional beings in their room, in their space, outside. There's a lot of stuff that's starting to happen because not only have we individually been shifting into higher frequencies, but on a collective level, we've been shifting. A visit. Aaron wants a visit. I think we all want physical visits, where they actually physically come down and stand. It's coming. Have patience. You have to understand, like for instance, many Syrians are vibrating at 12th dimensional frequency. They're light. And it takes a lot of energy to shift down into even a fifth dimensional field, much less a third dimension. So we don't realize how much energy it takes to slow their vibration down to move into this massively dense field that we're in. Just like how much energy it would take for us to shift ourselves right now into a fifth dimensional form and a fifth dimensional field. It takes a lot of energy. It's exhausting. And so just like it's exhausting for us, it's exhausting for these beings. So we have to kind of meet in the middle. We have to start increasing our frequency, and then they start to decrease their frequency more and more, and we start to play in this middle ground with them. Yeah, there's a lot of lights, you guys. The beings are showing themselves massively in the sky right now, like never before. They're out. They are in the sky, and they are showing themselves through light because they are light. So it's happening big time, and they're showing themselves so that we can remember what we're doing here, and that we're going to be okay. And that just because you see all of this horrific, God bless humanity and all of the humans that are going through what they're going through, but there are horrific things that are happening. And we have to hold firm in the knowingness that it's for the highest good, that it is density clearing out on the collective level, very similar to your physical form clearing out. The massive density of the third dimension has to show up, come up, arise in order for the first wave of collective way showers to assist in clearing it, so that the first wave of collective way showers or light workers can move the collective into the next dimensional field. So we have to remember that you don't want to buy into the density. You want to honor it, you want to love it, you want to send it compassion and love and prayer and all of that, because that shifts it, that clears it. Imagine the earth and everything you're seeing out there is exactly what you're doing within your physical form. So what's happening in your physical form is very similar to what's happening out there on the collective. Shit's coming up to be seen. And we, as light workers and way showers, have to be able to not participate in it, which means that we don't play in that paradigm, in that fear, in that consciousness. We honor it. We love it. We send it prayers. We send it whatever we can send it, so that our job as light workers and way showers are to shift that consciousness, which means that it clears out. And we can't do that. It clears out by us staying in the consciousness and field that we're in, acknowledging and seeing what's playing out, but knowing what's actually happening from the bigger perspective, from a much bigger perspective. We are watching that, recognizing that it's showing up to be cleared. And the way that it clears is that the light workers and the way showers are holding these higher frequencies, honoring, loving, acknowledging, and shifting that. Not buying into it and saying, we're screwed, we're messed up, this sucks, how are we ever going to shift? What does this mean for humanity? Humanity must be in a low vibration. Humanity must not have any love, compassion, all these things. No. Density, clearing from the collective, sending it prayers, healing it, loving it, knowing that the collective is shifting and that you are the first wave of the light workers and way showers it's the first wave of collective moving into the next dimensional field. It's how you do it, because this crap is always going to be here. Not always. This crap is going to be here for a very long time. So we have to be the ones that hold the knowingness that we're shifting. I feel a hot lava acid in my belly, Jessica. Is that a chakra energy that needs to be cleared? There's a lot of people that have been talking about this. I've had a couple people reach out to me and they said that they have this like intense boiling or like massive kind of like, I don't even know what I would call it, ball of like tension in the belly. And it's definitely density. It's definitely consciousness. It definitely needs to be cleared and is asking to be cleared. So one of the things that you can do, Jessica, is you can close your eyes and bring awareness into that, that lava belly, that lava acid that you're feeling. It's consciousness. It's trying to come up to be cleared. So don't be afraid of it, because it's not going to harm you. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to explode and create some sort of massive physical pains. It's coming up in that physicality so that you can bring your awareness to it. So just start to bring your awareness to it. And with love and gentleness, call in any sort of beings that you want, angels, and start to break it up. Start to dive into it. You're in charge. You're the creator being. We're not victims. Remember that, right? You're not a victim. Nothing's happening to you. You're a powerful creator being that has the ability to work with this energy. And so you want to close your eyes and bring your awareness to it. You want to ask for assistance from higher dimensional beings to help you understand what is this. And then in every now moment throughout your day, get clear on that. Get clear on that lava ball that you're feeling, that acid that you're feeling, right? Get clear on it and listen to what comes throughout your day. Because if your intention is to break it up and clear it out of you, the density, that's what's going to happen. It might not happen in that one moment that you close your eyes and tap into it, but it will start to happen. And it will start to clear and resolve itself and move through you. Would physical things going wrong part of the energetic clearing? Yeah, so going wrong is only your ego looking at it as wrong. From a higher perspective, like from your higher self, there is no such thing as things going wrong. From the egoic third dimensional aspect, it's things going wrong. From a higher perspective, it's just you moving through consciousness. It's just that it's you starting to shift. A lot of times when things are dissolving in our world, things we are losing things, things are literally falling apart. It looks as if it's falling apart when actually what's happening is you're shifting your frequency. And when you shift your frequency, everything around you, the reality in which you've been living, starts to rattle like an earthquake and shake and starts to break up and shift. Because who you were with that reality is not who you're going to and are becoming and stepping into, which is all just within you. It's not an actual movement outside of you, right? And so when it looks like things are going wrong, it's just your own ego. Your ego had an idea around something. Your ego wanted it to go a certain way. Your ego believed that this was the right way or the way to go. From your higher self perspective, your higher self is leading you and guiding you. The more you can let go and say, okay, listen, I know that I want things to go a certain way. I know that I think that it should go a certain way. But I know that my higher self is a higher perspective, is a higher frequency of me. And it knows exactly where I need to go. It knows exactly how to get me there. It knows exactly what's best for me. So can I let go and surrender to whatever's coming up without judgment? Have the emotions around it, the frustration, the anger, the confusion, but then also have the perspective of the observer, have the perspective of the higher self coming in and saying, this is designed perfectly. This is exactly what you need. Because the entire purpose of being in physical form, regardless of who you are, regardless of what dimensional field you're holding in your light body, regardless of your purpose, your blueprint, the reason you dropped into physical form is to shift into the next dimensional field. And then the next dimensional field. If you're listening to this, it is. There's millions of humans where that's not their intention. But if you're listening to this, most likely that's what you're here to do. And so everything else is secondary, including your divine blueprint, right? Most important thing is that in every now moment, you're constantly shifting into the next highest frequency, which can take a very long time to shift into that next frequency. So everything that's occurring, you have to hold that knowingness. When the shit hits the fan and you've lost everything, can you settle into the fact that your higher self is doing this and it's only to serve you so that you can move into the next highest frequency? Challenging, totally, but it's true. So when things go wrong, they're not going wrong. They're going wrong in your egoic perspective, but they're always perfect and it's always designed by higher self. That's why it's so important to start to really embody and listen to your higher self. Because when you can listen to your higher self, you can really trust that part of you. And you know that you're not alone doing it. Yeah, when you start analyzing, it can get challenging. All right. Anything else? I don't know how long I've been on here. Oh, an hour and 15. That's not bad. That is not bad. So this was not my scheduled Q&A, but I wanted to jump on and say hello to you guys and share some information. Um, let's see, one more question. Yesterday I fell on my butt and later in the day bumped my head. I hope you're okay. Hey, Stephen, good to see you here. This is a good one. How do you get out of the monkey mind during this process? I can't sit still anymore. Okay, how do you get out of the monkey mind? So, first of all, what is the monkey mind? The monkey mind, I like to call the hamster wheel. So, the monkey mind is the overactive analyzation of your ego and personality trying to figure out the world, right? And trying to, we are beings that have been designed to be in control. So, from the moment we popped out and became a human in that form, it's been all about control, right? And figuring out your environment so that you can control your environment, right? And so as long as you're in control of your environment, everything else can be okay. It's when you are not in control that it becomes overwhelming. So the monkey mind is sort of the overactive part of the third dimensional aspect of you that is trying to make sure that you're in control, that is trying to conceptualize, understand, and analyze everything that's happening. Because in analyzing and conceptualizing and figuring it out, dissecting it, you're in control, right? So, one of the things you want to do is you have, first of all, recognizing that, right? Why do I have this monkey mind right now? Whatever it is that you're clearing, it's massive and you're afraid to sort of dive into it or sort of fall into it, like almost like let go, surrender, and just drop into the pool of whatever it is that's coming up that your monkey mind is trying to figure out. So let's say that you have a massive amount of fear around money right now, right? That you're not going to have enough money. So the pool that's sitting in front of you is lack of not being taken care of financially, not having enough, being left with nothing. Now, in reality, that's not going to happen, most likely, right? But that's the pool that you're looking at. And so what the monkey mind will do is try to figure out, how do I shift this? How do I change this? How do I bring money in? Um, how do I look at it? Where is this coming from? Where did I learn this from? Who did I learn this from? How do I change my thoughts? What are the affirmations I can say, right? That mind is just going do, 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 do. And what you need to do, which is what we don't want to do, is look at it and just dive on in, which means you feel every single ounce of that lack. You literally can imagine it as like a pool and that you're just going to go and lay in it. When you do that, and when you just give yourself over to that which scares the shit out of you, right? And you let the monkey mind just stop, you then allow yourself to move into a space of surrendering and flow, which is, it can be very uncomfortable when you're in a flow state with a pool of lack mentality. But when you're in that, the monkey mind is quiet and you recognize that there was never anything to ever fear, that you're completely safe as you soak yourself in that bath of consciousness, and then you step out of that bath and you can journal about what it was like to be in that bath, you can talk about what it was like to be in that bath, but you won't have that anxious monkey mind. The anxious monkey mind is a defense mechanism. It's stopping you from diving in to that which is asking you to dive into it. So the monkey mind is a shield. It protects us. As long as I'm thinking and trying to figure it out and trying to analyze it and trying to do all these things, I'm not diving into it and just being in it and allowing it to consume me so that it can clear out of me. There's a huge, that takes, you have to let go of control. I did this last week in a massive way, and it was very uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable for like, okay, so what happens is it kind of, this consciousness, this dense consciousness creeps up, creeps up, creeps up, it gets more intense, more intense, more intense. It's not going away. It's not going away, right? It's like, fuck, you can't get rid of it. And it's building. And you're like, get the fuck out. And it's not going away. It's building up and it's getting more intense. And this could be for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I don't know how long that dense consciousness is going to build up and build up and build up. And so what I was trying to do was all these different tactics, right? I was trying to figure it out. I was blaming it on other people. I was trying to do some sort of energetic chords about it. I was like, I mean, there were all kinds of things I was doing, right? And as it got more and more intense, and I was literally crawling out of my skin because I wanted it out of me, I wanted this out of me. I sat and I said, I surrender. I let go. I'm gonna let go. I'm just gonna be in this 100%, all of it, because it's not me. And that's the fear, right? If you dive in, it becomes you. No, it's not you. It's a consciousness that you consumed. It's a consciousness that you experienced outside of yourself that you consumed inside the physical form that needs to clear. I knew the entire time it was trying to clear out of me. I just didn't want to let go of control because that scares the crap out of me. So I sat and I allowed myself to just be in this consciousness 100%, 1000%. And it was so uncomfortable. It was nauseating. It was, and I sat in it for 4 days. I did my daily life, but I was in it. And then the very last day, as I was in that pool of that consciousness, I just started journaling. I just journaled pages and pages of what this consciousness was speaking, is what this consciousness was saying to me. Not all consciousnesses need that. This consciousness needed that. I needed that with this consciousness. So just see the monkey mind as a defense mechanism, which is perfect. It's fine. It's okay. But there is a consciousness that's trying to be experienced that your monkey mind is distracting you from. And when you're in a now moment, when you're in a now space, when you're just now here, when you're just here, the monkey mind is quiet. Monkey mind tries to distract you. When you're in now moment, you feel everything that's coming up. So being present and being in the now is how you feel everything. And then you watch your defense mechanisms, which are perfect. Defense mechanisms are beautiful. We had to have them growing up through this lifetime because we are in such a dense field of consciousness. We needed ways in which to exist. Anyway, does that help? I think so. Would you say journaling is fine? Journaling is awesome. No. So journaling allows you to sort of digest it and process it, right? Journaling is a good way of processing it. So you want to jump in the pool. So the monkey mind quiets and you say, F it, I'm jumping in. I'm going to sit in this, whatever it is, which means that you just feel it intensely. Just feel it. You're not it, right? And then as you're feeling it, go ahead and journal. Journaling is a good way of processing. It's not holding it energetically at all. You're receiving the information that you need to hear about that consciousness, And it'll probably assist you in releasing it even more. When I journaled and I was done with the journaling, I rarely journal. Okay. This consciousness needed me to journal. And as I journaled and I was complete with the journal, it was gone. It was out of me, completely out of me. I've never had such a tangible experience of dense consciousness in me in such an intense way and then physically clearing out of me. I could feel it. It was gone. I was lighter. So if you need to journal, by all means, journal. If you need to dance, if you need to sing, if you need to, I mean, whatever you need to do, right? Do that. But make sure that you're in the pool with it, feeling it, and it'll clear out of you. Okay. What else? Dive the unknown. Yep. You're welcome. Yeah, I journaled for I don't normally journal, man, but I needed to journal with this consciousness, and holy man, holy cows, it cleared it. But you can't journal without diving into the pool, right? So if I just sat and like acknowledged that density and saw it, heard it, knew what it was, and then tried to journal it, it would have been logic. It would have been my logical egoic personality and mind just writing it down. I had to surrender and dive into the pool. And then once in the uncomfortable pool, journal from that space. So you want to journal from the space of being in that consciousness, feeling it, experiencing it, being in that uncomfortableness. See, we're funny humans. Humans are funny. We will kind of like put our toes in the water, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just put my little toe in and feel it a little bit and then come out. I'm only gonna feel a certain amount of that consciousness. I only want to feel a certain amount of that insecurity. I only want to feel a certain amount of that self-loathing. I only want to feel a certain amount, just a certain, right? And the only way that it can actually clear out completely is to courageously dive head into the entire thing and just say, take me, let's go, take me completely, and let's do this. And that takes so much courage. So if you start feeling your skin crawling, like, oh, just dive, jump in. I'm telling you, it works. Telling you, especially if you're working with the Sirians right now in this Lionsgate, you guys, don't kid yourself. Take the opportunity now because it's not going anywhere, right? These consciousnesses that are coming up, they're not going anywhere unless you look at them and dive in and let them clear. And right now in this portal that we're in, the Sirians are right by our sides. Like, I can help you. Let's do this. I can help you. Let's do this. So access them, for sure, access them right now. Call them into your space and say, help, clear this out. And then be prepared, PS, that it's going to come up in a massive way that you can't ignore. And it's going to come up in such a massive way that you're going to be extremely uncomfortable unless you dive in and say, all right, I have to remember that this is for my highest good. I have to remember that this is shifting me into the next highest frequency, which is what I want. Because when I'm in that next highest frequency, I won't be experiencing I won't be experiencing the lower densities that I was before. I'll feel higher frequencies, which is what we all want to feel. But we have to clear that density out. You spoke with them in the steam room. That's awesome. Yeah, they're all around us right now, massively. I had a dream that told me that Syrians are coming. Also, egg-shaped heads. The voice in my dream showed me how to spell it. Syrian, wild fey rose. Yeah, they're around you then. So start to clear things. What are coming up? What densities do you want cleared out of you? What thoughts, emotions, beliefs, traumas? What do you want cleared out? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Nothing wrong with this. This is an awesome time, you guys. Let's clear. Let's shift into these higher frequencies. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. It's awesome. Clear it out. Let's go. What's next? Let's go. What's next? Let's go. Let's do it. It is a long one. It's an hour and a half. So if you want to take your power back, get more specific. What does that mean that you want to take your power back? What are the beliefs that you hold about yourself? You have lack of boundaries. You don't speak up for yourself. You don't value yourself, right? Let's get deep into what that means. And then those are the things that you want to clear out. So you got to get real specific. So really, taking your power back really means that you don't feel worthy. So there's a lack of self-worth, right? Or other things that are coming up. So you got to get real clear on what you're clearing out that's not serving you. Not necessarily the behaviors. You want to go deeper than that. You want to go into the beliefs. You want to go into the emotions, those kinds of things. Tisha, I'm trying, but you're not seeing my posts. Ask your question. I've got some pretty awesome pictures. What are you guys talking about? Oh, the lights in the sky. Doing our highest good. I'm more comfortable doing the clearing work during the day as opposed to nighttime. Perfect. Then do it during the day. Sometimes in the night it can get a little bit more like nerve wracking because you know the beings are around you clearing you, but like it's nighttime, so there's always this like, oh, I don't know, like there's just a little bit more of a, keeping one eye open kind of feeling. So do it during the day. You know. Oh, I'd love to see them, Stephen. That'd be awesome. I wish to clear the fear that if I'm happy and in flow, I'm not being responsible and will not be able to survive. Okay, I have seen your point, but my beings are talk I'm trying to understand. Not sure I understand what you're saying, Tisha. Less resistance during the day, yeah. Real talk with George. Thank you, George. I appreciate that. So, you guys, I'm starting a community, an online community I'm really excited about in the beginning of September. So, I'll be sharing it on YouTube soon and I'll be posting about it. But it's an online community, subscription based, and I'm going to be live all the time. I'm going to do these. I'm going to pick people, whoever are in the community. Once a month, I'm going to pick somebody out of the community and do a live 30-minute mini session with them. So that's one of the things I'm going to do. I'm going to come on live and do channeled messages. I'm going to do live Q&As. It's just going to be such an awesome community. I'm so excited to start it. I love the YouTube community, but I'm really excited to do this subscription-based online community and to provide free mini sessions and they'll be live, so the other person will be on video, and it'll be like a back and forth conversation. So it's going to be really cool. Super says, I don't know why. Sometimes I feel like I want the dumb drug. Well, I know why. It's challenging in this density. I don't drink alcohol. I haven't had alcohol since for 5 or 6 years, but there's definitely times where I'm like, can I have a sleeping pill? Can I have a drug? Can I have a drink? Can I have something that can alter my freaking reality? It's challenging. It's constant work, you guys, right? For me, at least, it feels like clearing density, shifting, ascending, all of this it's work. Energy, clearing energy, looking at energy, feeling energy, being energetic takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of work. So it's normal, I think, to feel like, can somebody just like drug me up for a day? Like I just want to numb out, right? And yet you know that numbing out is not what you're designed to do. And as you shift into these higher frequencies, you don't want to numb out. I mean, you do want to numb out, but you don't numb out, right? You start to shift out of those behaviors of the numbing. It just doesn't resonate anymore. But it's challenging. It's challenging. You channel yourself, but you don't understand everything. Okay, Tisha, just keep channeling. So it just means that the frequency that's coming in, the energy that's coming in, is from a higher dimensional frequency that you're not quite able to dissect or digest. Imagine high frequency energy coming in from other dimensional beings, aspects of yourself, whatever it is. It's funneled and channeled into your channel, and you have to dissect that information. And if it's from a very high frequency, it can be very challenging to understand it. Just keep channeling, just keep communicating, just keep talking and opening yourself to it, because you will be able to find yourself in a frequency that you'll hear it, that you'll understand it, and that it will make sense to you. Okay, so just keep whatever it is that you're doing to channel it, whatever it is you're doing to hear it, and maybe nothing, maybe it's just being given to you, it's just being downloaded into you, however it's coming in, just keep opening yourself to it, because there's a reason for it coming in. There's a reason that you're hearing it. You'll eventually understand it. There are times where I receive massive downloads, which is like a suitcase of information, and it's too complex to understand. It hurts my head. It hurts my head. So I have to allow myself time to digest it, which means unravel it, figure it out. What does this mean? It's like you're a kindergartner and you're in a senior school, you're in a senior classroom learning, some sort of mathematician problem, but you just learned how to add, right? So you have to give yourself patience, and you'll figure it out. You'll learn. Yeah, just keep doing it. Keep opening yourself. Okay. As I raise my vibration, I don't feel much of a relief when I smoke weed. I almost don't feel high in my sober state. I can't believe sometimes how much I've grown. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I don't feel much of a relief when I smoke weed. Well, Kelsey, that's because eventually you won't desire or resonate with smoking weed. Um, when you are moving into higher frequencies, you won't resonate with digesting anything that alters your reality, that alters your consciousness, because the natural state of your beingness feels much better than any altered state you can bring yourself to from a substance. And this is not to say that there is anything wrong with weed or anything else you want to take to alter your reality. That's your choice and your prerogative, and it's serving you if you're doing it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But when you start shifting into higher frequencies and higher frequency, you will not desire or crave anything outside of yourself to bring yourself to that state of consciousness that you think you need that thing outside of you to bring you to. You naturally will do it. You'll naturally feel that which those substances are providing for you. You're designed to. All that weed is doing, all the ayahuasca is doing, is it's connecting to terminals, frequencies within you that are natural, that you just haven't been able to tap into yourself regularly. So it's not bringing anything into you. It's accessing aspects of you that are in you that you have access to. You just have to shift into a higher frequency to feel it. So these things outside of you, the drugs, the weed, the medicines, they bring you into that higher frequency to feel that, because you're not capable of doing it yourself yet. But you'll shift into higher frequencies and you won't crave it anymore. It's not going to do the same thing for you. It'll feel funky. It'll feel weird. It'll feel like, what the hell am I doing? This is my natural state. I don't need to do this anymore. But there's nothing wrong with anybody doing any of those things for as long as they need. Nothing wrong with it. Carolyn. No, the gibberish, whatever's coming through is energy. It's a frequency, it's a tone, it's a vibration. So it has a meaning. It's just that you may not be able to digest it, or digest it isn't necessarily the word. Dissect it. And that's okay. It's probably coming from a pretty high frequency. Are you familiar with QHHT? Yes, I am. Helping with clearing dense energies. Yes, I am. I had a QHHT in 2014, and I was taking Prozac for 12 years. And I went in and I said, okay, I want to clear. I don't want to ever take Prozac again when I come out of this QHHT. And I never took Prozac again. I also asked for other things that didn't happen, right? So I was ready, and I believed that I could stop taking Prozac. And so the QHHT assisted me in that. But it's your higher self, right? So when you go into a QHHT session, you end up at the end of it connecting with the higher self, and the higher self clearing for you the ego part of you. So the ego part of you and the higher self connect and say, okay, what are we doing here? But they both have to agree, right? So if your ego isn't quite ready to let go of whatever it is you think you're ready to let go of, it's not going to happen. But the other thing about the QHHT is, as you start shifting into higher frequencies, you're already doing this on your own. You're connecting with your higher self 24/7. You don't need the QHHT to assist you in clearing anything, because all the QHHT does, it's a beautiful vessel or technique to connect you to the higher self and to clear. And to provide information and guidance and messages and so many things. But it's basically you, the egoic part of you, connecting with your higher self in a very clear, very distinct way. But what happens when you shift into higher frequencies is that you're doing that all the time. That's what we're learning how to do. That's how you are. That's how you be in higher frequencies, is that there's a 24/7 constant connection with higher self, and the higher self and you being the ego and the personality, right, and the human physical aspect of you is constantly in connection and communication with the higher self. And so you're doing all of that together, side by side, side by side. Anything you want to clear, you are the higher self, you are your higher self, right? So the QHHT is a great way to start aligning and connecting with the higher self and clearing things. But you won't need it as you start shifting into higher frequencies. My daughter asked me if I wanted a Tevan because my PTSD was triggered. I said, no way, I got to feel it and clear it. Oh, cool. I love that. Yeah, Dolores Cannon, she's awesome. I love Dolores so much. I want her publishing company to publish my book. Cross your fingers. Yeah, I mean, cannabis is amazing, right? Holy cow. Like it's amazing what it can do for so many things. So many things. But real talk with George. What we'll start to notice is, so what cannabis is doing is, it's beautiful because it's allowing us to access parts of ourselves that we're not able to access naturally yet, but we'll eventually be able to access those aspects of us naturally without that cannabis. Eventually, that's the whole point. Shifting to higher frequencies, you can heal anything, you can clear anything, you can put yourself to sleep just by intention, right? You can clear any pain. We're just not there yet, a lot of us. Cheech and Chong movies seem funnier. Correct. 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 What happened with the guy from last Lionsgate hiking? What happened with the guy from last Lionsgate? Deb, I don't know what you mean. What happened with the guy from last Lionsgate hiking? Oh, the dude I was dating. The guy I was dating. Yeah, we're not dating anymore. It served its purpose. You want me to tell you that story? So here's the story. So really quickly. Last Lionsgate, 888. I was walking up Mount Shasta. I was on Mount Shasta. long story short, I was on Mount Shasta. So was this dude. I met him, and we hit it off. And he's from San Diego. And a month and a half later, he was like, "Hey, I really have been called to go to Machu Picchu." And I'm like, "Fuck, I've never wanted to go to Machu Picchu. Like, okay, have fun." He's like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Not really, but like, I don't know. I haven't had a vacation in a while, and Peru sounds amazing, and Machu Picchu is supposed to be a really powerful sacred site. Sure, let's go." So in October we go, and I knew that I was going to be writing a book. I just had no idea what the book was about, and I wasn't pushing for the book to be written because I didn't know what it was about. And so we were on the bus up driving, taking this bus up this windy road to Machu Picchu, the actual site. And all of a sudden, I received one of the most massive energetic downloads I've ever received. And the only way I can explain it is my entire body was shifted into a higher frequency where I couldn't really move. It's like you're kind of in this zombie state and you're listening to the messages coming in, and you're in an altered state, almost like you're zoned out. And all of a sudden my guides came in, and they were like, this is your book. This is what you're going to be writing your book about. Your book is about Earth's the history of Earth. And this site holds a huge amount of history. And there are other sites that you're going to go to, that you have gone to, that hold history. And this is the beginning. And I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? And they were like, go to the most potent part of this site, sit down, and we're going to download information to you. And I was like, oh my God. So we thought the trip was for my friend, this guy that I was dating. We thought he was going to receive all of this information. Anyway, I find the most powerful part of this freaking site. I sit down and I have my recorder on my phone, and information just starts piling in about my book and about this site and about what happened here and about the higher dimensional beings that came in, and these sacred sites they actually physically built with the humans, and all of this stuff came through, and I was like, oh my God. And that was how my book started. So had I not met that man on 8/8 last year, right, I don't know when I would have received that download. My guides would have given it to me in some other way, but that was why he came into my life. So it's a pretty powerful uh, story of how our guides work with us, right? And how we just say yes, and we just follow, and we just surrender. We don't try to figure it out. We don't try to control it. We don't try to make sense of it. We just trust that the higher self, our higher self, us, is always moving us to the next highest version of us. Always. I didn't try to figure it out. I didn't say, oh, he's asking me to go to Machu Picchu. I think I should just say yes to this, right? Well, I could have done all kinds of things. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I shouldn't do it. All these things. And I knew the way I live my life is that I know that my higher self is always guiding me. And if something is coming up as an opportunity, maybe I should say yes to it. I don't know what's going to happen, but maybe I'll say yes. I had no idea, but that's how you live. So there you go. Beth, you're welcome. Right now, it's activate, assimilate, anchor with the Sirians. How did you find the most powerful part of the site? Good question. So feeling was about, so it was almost like you resonate. It's like you imagine that your physical body is like a radar, a detector, right? And it's like one of the, like almost like if you're on a beach and you're trying to collect money, right? Those little machines that collect the money, and they've got that detector sensor underneath, and as soon as it gets to the money, it goes ding 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 ding, right? That's kind of what it's like. Your physical form is a radar. It's a detector. It's an energetic field. right? And the more you're embodied in it, the more you'll feel. And the more you practice that, it's resonance, right? The more you practice it, the easier it is to feel. So I was deeply embodied when I was walking around the site. And then I didn't think, I wasn't thinking, I was just feeling. I was just energetically moving around and feeling. And I was like, is this it? I was like, no, but I can feel some pretty potent stuff here. And then all of a sudden I turned this bend. I don't know if any of you guys have been to Machu Picchu, but holy shit. It's the part where it's all open grass, right? It's pretty deep into the actual site. It's where all the massive rocks are. There's a massive rock that sort of dissolved or broke apart. All the llamas are on that grassy field. And I was like, oh my God. And then I heard the downloads. The ships came here. This is where they taught. This is where they taught the humans. And I started to receive the information, right? And so that's where I sat. And as soon as I sat down, I could really feel they were showing me visions. They were telling me, it was so loud. It's not always like that for me to receive downloads like that, but they do show me a lot of scenes, and they were showing me things, and it was um, powerful. So the way you kind of navigate what's most potent is by resonance, which is just like, imagine your body is a radar detector. And it's like, okay, what feels good? What doesn't feel good? What am I resonating with? What am I not resonating with? Right? So you got to start to learn how to feel more and more, not feel emotion. Okay. It's a different feeling. It's a feeling of energy. It's an energetic feeling. Practice it every day. Practice it by, like, when you walk into a grocery store, just ask yourself, like, what am I feeling in this grocery store? And just like start to practice that. What do I feel when I'm walking around a certain space? What do I feel when I'm standing in someone's presence? What do I feel when I walk into someone's room or house? That's a good one. How do I feel when I'm in this person's house? What does it feel like? So start practicing that daily. When you walk into any new space, what am I feeling? Not emotions. You're not wanting to feel the emotion, you're wanting to feel the energy of it. And the more you practice that, the better you'll get. And you'll be like, oh my God, this room feels really dense and cluttery, like it needs clearing. The space feels so open and expansive and like, holy cow, right? You'll start to feel that. Hopefully that helps. It's like tuning an instrument. Who the who. That is right, who the who. It is like tuning an instrument. You have to play with it. You have to figure it out and learn how it works. And your ego is still there, right? You're not asleep. So the ego's like, I don't know, is this not? Is this the highest spot and the most potent spot? I don't know. Maybe it's over here. And you got to just quiet that, right? Quiet. You're not in control. Physical form is. Come back to the physical form and let it resonate. You know, our highest good. Yeah. So especially when you walk into bars, restaurants, clubs, oh my goodness, just practice. Anytime you walk into anything new, a yoga studio, a gym, whatever it may be, how do I feel? Because that's how you, not only do you bring yourself into present moment, not only do you bring yourself into your physical body, but then you start to really understand that you're an energetic being, like massively understand that you're energetic, that you are an energetic being with a resonance. The resonance is the vibration that moves out of you. And your resonance is everything. It's your yes and your no, you're good, you're bad, it's how you play in duality. Your resonance is what guides you. Sorry, this doesn't feel good anymore. I'm going to leave now. You know? A lot, Jay Roach, part of the pain may be that you're actually coming into the physical form more than you ever have. So sometimes when we really start to embody our physicality, we then start to actually feel pain more. So a lot of us have not been in our bodies for most of our lives, thinking we've been in the body, but we haven't. As we start actively and consciously moving through the process of ascension and ascending, which is just moving into higher frequencies, you have to come into the body deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you come into the body, you feel a lot more, including pain. So it could be that. It's not that it's getting necessarily worse. It's just that you're consciously coming in more, which means that you're consciously aware of being in the physicality. You're consciously in the physicality more, so you're feeling more. It's not necessarily getting worse. It's just that you're feeling more of that physicality. But let's see what else. I don't want to get off. I'm having fun doing this. I've been feeling chronic pain for years. Chronic pain, people that feel chronic pain, I can't relate, but I can empathize. And a lot of times it's one of the things that you have brought in with your Akashic record is it's one of the things that you are experiencing as a human in this third dimensional consciousness is that chronic pain. It doesn't necessarily, when you have chronic pain like that, it's not necessarily about dense consciousness clearing. It could be one of the things that you decided to pull off the Akashic record and stick into your briefcase when you came into human form. And we look at that as like, why the hell would I do that? And Jesus, that sucks. And, but there's a lot of things that we've chosen to pull off the shelf of the Akashic and put into our little briefcase to experience that isn't great, quote unquote great. Some things last our whole lifetime. Some things last a short amount of time. Chronic pain, I think sometimes can be one of those things for people. Are we done? I had fun. I had a lot of fun. I think we're done. Dora, lucid dreams. I don't have a lot of experience with lucid dreams. I don't get a lot of information about lucid dreams. The only thing that I could say about lucid dreams is that your consciousness, so when you're in the dream state, it's your etheric body and light body, the higher the higher frequencies of you that are playing in different dimensions, different portals, different fields of consciousness, right? And your ego and personality and mind are asleep. So when you lucid dream, the ego and the mind and the personality kind of wake up while you're still in that dream state. So you're conscious of the dream state. So you can navigate it, you can explore it. It's almost like the light is on, even though your body is asleep. There's a light that turns on. It has nothing to do with the etheric body and the light body that naturally goes and does all kinds of stuff. In the lucid dreaming, the light bulb turns on and you're like, oh shit, I'm dreaming. What do I want to do? You become conscious. The aspect of you that's the third dimensional physical being becomes conscious. And then you can navigate it. You can play with it. You can dissect it. You can create situations, scenes, clearings, healings, all kinds of stuff, right? It's not necessary though, because the higher self is always connecting with the etheric and light body that's traveling. And the things that are happening are always for your highest good. But lucid dreaming allows the human, third dimensional human part of you to have more control over it, which is sometimes good, sometimes not so good. Oh, Okay. That'd be fun, super. Have a barbecue and we'll all show up in real life. You're welcome, Carolyn. Rhonda, always for your highest good. It's a belief, it's a knowingness. So if you believe that everything that's happening to you is for your highest good, then that is, and that actually from a higher perspective is what's happening. Um, it's all about the way you perceive your now moments. There's coleslaw. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. 2 hours. That's enough. Um, all right. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me in this impromptu YouTube. I will be live next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, the 17th, I guess. What is that? The 16th, 17th? 17th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, California time. And I'll be sharing more at that time about the community. And I think that's it. Be gentle with yourselves. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. You guys are all amazing. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Bye.